Hello and welcome back to another classic Doctor Who review where it's been a month since the last one of these I done because in case you don't know, last month was Trilogy Month, so I didn't really have time to review classic Doctor Who because of my upload schedule. So in case you're new here, every second week usually I will try to review a classic Doctor Who episode that is voted for by you, which a poll will usually go out an hour after this video has gone live. So I'll of course reveal what those four episodes or four stories that you can pick at the end of this video. So by a very close margin, for the last poll that I did, Revelation of the Daleks won by 46% of the vote out of 21 votes. Which was surprising that I didn't think another Dalek episode would be picked, considering the last classic Doctor Who review I done was for a John Pertwee Dalek story, Day of the Dalek, I think. Yes, Day of the Dalek. Um, so yeah, again, that's one thing that I'm really surprised at when I'm picking these episodes for the poll. That I pick episodes that I think would win. Like I picked Invasion. I thought that episode would have, or that story would have won. But I was proven wrong. So this is a two-parter, and I have some notes that I wrote after the fact of me watching it. Because there's some interesting history behind what happened after this episode. So this episode is the last episode for season 22, Colin Baker's first full season, as the Twin Dilemma was tacked on to the end of season 21, um, which obviously that didn't start off on the best footing. And so this episode is very Doctor and Perry light. It runs for about an hour and a half, 45 minutes per two episodes, and it's not the greatest. You know, it's far from the worst Dalek stories out there, don't get me wrong, but it's also very far from the best. Basically, Davros has taken over this planet and he's starting to make he's found a way to create new Daleks that by mutating the inhabitants on this planet Necros. And that's basically the vast majority of the plot. Once the Doctor finds that there is a sculpture depicting his current face, he then believes that this will be his final resting place, which is funny enough because this very thing gets brought up during series 7 of Doctor Who in The Name of the Doctor, where the Doctor actually had to go to Trenzalore, which was originally supposed to be his final resting place. Um, Aside from that, you know, like I said, this episode is very Doctor Light, and I am going to struggle to say positive things, which is why I have some notes there for stuff that happened after this episode. So yeah, it's not the greatest. Eventually, the Doctor gets captured by Davros, and it turns out that what people are thinking is this president's ship. Once it lands, turns out to be the Renegade Daleks. Whereas I'm not sure if this is the first story to feature the Imperial Daleks. I'm not 100% sure on that one. But I'm not really a big fan of the Imperial design of the Daleks, the all white ones. I do prefer the Renegades. To me, the Renegades and the Bronze are really the best look for the Daleks. And so Davros eventually gets captured and is brought back to Skaro to be put on trial. They do a neat little twist though that I didn't expect. I initially thought that it was that Davros was just a head in a jar. Considering what I've seen of what Davros looks like in Remembrance of the Daleks. You know, but it turns out that it to be a twist that's just a decoy that Davros still looks like Davros, and eventually the whole place goes kaboom, there's a really annoying DJ, and it's basically this planet is one giant burial site for people, which was a rumor of someone that the Doctor knew. He heard the rumor that the person had died, so that of course was designed to get the Doctor to come for whatever reason. And yeah, it turns out that Davros was using these bodies. He would scan their intelligence. If they were intelligent enough, he would then turn them into Daleks. We also see the clear Dalek in this one, which I don't really care for. You know, like I said, this isn't a great Dalek story, but it's far, far, far from the worst. Um, and it also seemed very, very easy to destroy some of the Imperial Daleks in this story. They didn't seem to put up that much of a threat. It definitely could have done with being longer than two parts. I definitely think this would have been a lot better as a four-part story, as well as a lot better if it had more of the Doctor and Perry in it, because I switched off my mind for most of the boring dialogue that was going on, where the Doctor and Perry just weren't on screen because it just didn't interest me whatsoever. Which it's a shame because I didn't like Day of the Dalek, which is the previous review that I done last month. And again, another dud of a Dalek story, unfortunately. But now I'll get on to the interesting tidbits from that has spawned out after this. So after this episode came out in 1985, Doctor Who went off air for a full year because it wasn't sure if it was going to be cancelled or not. Thus spawned the Doctor in Distress song, which sucks. Um, and then the end line, however, that got cut off from this episode was going to mention Blackpool, as initially for season 23, they were originally going to bring the toy maker back. And it would have had Michael Gough reprise his role as the toy maker. But then that did later become a Big Finish audio called The Nightmare Fair, which is what the actual episode was going to be called, as part of the Lost Stories done by Big Finish, which was released in 2009, which I did listen to in preparation for the 60th anniversary last year. And that's all the notes that I have written. So now, I actually don't have the episodes picked for what I could review, so I'm going to pause whilst I go pick them. Okay, so I've gone for some heavy hitters here. I I kind of think I know what could win the vote. It's between one of two. But then again, I have been wrong. Every time I've done one of these polls, I have been wrong. So once again, excuse me, an hour after this video has gone live, so 4 p.m. GMT plus 1 is when this poll will go live for you to vote. So the episodes I have chose is a third Doctor story, a fourth Doctor story, another sixth Doctor story, and a non-canon story, which is making a reappearance. So the third Doctor story is actually the regeneration story for John Pertwee, and that is Planet of Spiders. Yes, an episode that I have not seen, and I'm curious as to how many parts it is. It's a 6-part story. Um, so yeah, that is your first choice. The next choice, which is the episode I honestly think will probably win this out, and that is Pyramids of Mars, an episode I have seen. I don't recall seeing it in full, but I have seen most of this, which is a 4-part story. So that is your second option. The third option is Attack of the Cybermen, the first Colin Baker story I had ever seen, which is another 2-part story. And then finally, the non-canon one, which was originally released for the 40th anniversary of the show, making another reappearance as to be put up for a vote, is Scream of the Shalka, starring Richard E. Grant, which uh, is several mini episodes spread over 6 parts, as it was a online webisode. So those are your picks. So once again, your options are Planet of the Spiders, Pyramids of Mars, Attack of the Cybermen, and Scream of the Shulker. So, in 2 weeks' time, I will be back to review one of these stories, and the poll will last for 1 week. So, it'll all be in the mention for the poll on my community tab. So, any comments that are left in regards to what you would like to see will not be counted, it'll only be counted on the poll itself. So, thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I shall see you all on Monday for another brand new review, which I actually can tell you since I have my notebook here. So on Monday will be my Terminator Genesis review. I shall see you all for that one.